and I'm coming to you with the Rudy Giuliani show right after the bumbling, stumbling, inarticulate liar announced a new border policy, which is to restore about 1/10 of what he did away with from the Trump era, in which the border was as secure as it had been in 20, 30 years. Just numbers alone, 400,000 under Trump, 3.2 million in 1 year under Biden. Biden, on the numbers we can count, the people we interviewed and let in, and it'll be higher than that because we keep finding new little pockets of people he let in that he never told us about. But the number is about 3, 4, 5, 6. Number's about 8 million that we hard number, 8 million. Went through vetting, 3 questions, 4 questions of the Chinese, no vetting really. So we got about 8 million of those. Then we got about 2 million gotaways. Those are the people that they saw. They wrote down something. The guy is 6'1", the guy has a suit on, the guy doesn't have a, blah, 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 blah. We got about 2 million of those. And then we have an undetermined number of never saw them. Now, we don't even talk about that. That's like, we never talk about how there is proof that Biden got money that is solid as proof in any trial could be. Joe Biden we're talking about. We never talk about the fact that Hunter Biden is a danger to children, and that is documented 100 Ways to Sunday. The stuff they just don't talk about, even on conservative media. So, we're going to talk about it here because we're not going through another election where they defraud you, not only in terms at the ballot box, but of information that's critical to making a decision about the presidency. And that's how we got the biggest criminals ever sit in the White House sitting there. It's interesting to look at the Hunter Biden trial with the Biden family in the front row. It's like, the mafia family showed up for the trials I used to have. The Biden crime family's right there. I mean, I don't see the main actors in the family, just the beneficiaries, the ones who got money. I don't see James, his brother. I don't see, well, the president, of course, isn't there. Although he's not commenting on the case except to say how wonderful his son is and how he tells the truth. And he put the fix in already with Weiss, I'm sure. My biggest concern about the case is the prosecutor is an unwilling prosecutor. This prosecutor did the fix for him originally. He's going to give him a plea to the least onerous counts imaginable, given the many crimes that he committed, and let the main crimes go by on the statute of limitations. They didn't bother to do a special extension of it like they did for Trump. And then this guy turned it down because I think he didn't trust them. You know what made the no jail misdemeanor solution go away? That they wouldn't give him immunity on everything else. Now, everything else is, this is like charging John Gotti with a traffic violation. This guy arranged $1.5 billion from Red China to a partnership that included, oh yes, another one that's not mentioned, Whitey Bulger's brother. This is a guy who set up a partnership with the chief of spying in China and got easily 20 million out of it. This is a guy who has acknowledged that money was going to his father every year, half of his salary. When they say, including in the Wall Street Journal and everybody, there's no proof that money went to Biden. What about testimony? How do we prove things? We have testimony. We have evidence. We have admissions. Admissions are among the strongest exceptions to the hearsay rule. Joe Biden, end of 2018, texts his daughter, for 30 years, I've been giving half my salary to my father. We need more proof than that. We do have a lot more proof than that. But why do these scurrilous newspapers constantly say there's no proof that money went to Biden? There's the proof. And then you see checks and all sorts of other things. But he's giving you the 360-degree view of the RICO conspiracy. He paid for all the expenses in the house, according to Hunter, and he paid his father half his salary for 30 years. I didn't say that. Hunter Biden wrote that. That would come in if there were a trial of Hunter and Joe as an admission of the conspiracy, of the sale of influence, otherwise known as bribery. So that the trial takes place today on, some of the minor charges, almost irrefutable. I mean, he went into a store, he bought a gun, he signed a piece of paper saying he was not addicted to drugs, didn't use drugs, and then he walked around with the gun. Two clear crimes. One is making a false statement on a government form, and the other is it's a felony for a drug addict to walk around with a gun, to have a gun. Now, that's for good reason. Nobody's being unfair to drug addicts. No one's trying him for being a drug addict. That we have come to the common sense conclusion, mostly the gun control people, that people who are mentally ill, people who have criminal records, and people who are blotto because of drugs shouldn't be carrying guns around. Remember, there are pictures of this guy. You see how out of control he is. There are pictures. I hope they use them, unless Weiss is blowing the case, taking a fall like some fighters do, right? There are pictures of Hunter driving in his automobile while smoking crack. So you'd have to say there's not if you want to make an exception for a minor drug user, like someone there said, one of the jurors said, I don't know how that let her on the jury, but one of the jurors said that she would not consider it, or she wouldn't convict somebody, I guess, or however she said it, who was using marijuana and bought a gun. Well, first of all, she doesn't get the choice of deciding that that's not illegal. The judge should have said, I hope maybe the judge did. The judge said, well, despite your view, are you going to follow my instructions? If I tell you, you have to find somebody guilty because it's the law. See, the jury finds the facts and the judge finds the law. You probably got confused about that in the trial in New York because the judge made up the law there. This is a different kind of judge. You're going to get more of a feeling of how a federal judge, as opposed to a crooked New York Supreme Court justice, operates. So far, very professional. So far, I didn't see the jury selection. Nobody did because it's federal court and you can't get in. But New York courts are the same. But it sounded like it was pretty good, except for that one person who basically says that she doesn't believe it's a crime, but she doesn't get to. This isn't religion. You don't get to believe here. This is a very, very structured, as we pointed out, and it's been sacrificed and beaten and destroyed to the point where it's almost as if somebody's done it to me or to my child or to my pet, which is the law. I mean, they've beaten it to a pulp. I mean, it's almost hard to hold your head up high and say, you're a lawyer in America. Might actually be good that I'm suspended. And it's also horrible to see the reaction of lawyers sitting there like this. I don't want to offend the judge. But if you're in trouble, get yourself a lawyer who's got a pair of, Otherwise, you're not going to offend the judge. You can be sitting in jail for 10 years for something you didn't do. So, is this a conviction? My goodness. Yeah. If this isn't a conviction, then what John Mac Isaacs told me, and I think Bob in one talk was, he said everybody in Delaware is either close politically and tied up with the Bidens, some of it in the crap they do, and then the rest are afraid of them. In fact, he was afraid and he left. I would not count the gun owner here. Well, and I'm going to tell you about the gun owner, what I remember. This goes back a bit, and this is to prove to you that not all 80-year-olds are demented like like jerk off in the White House. I'll recollect the original testimony of the gun shop owner, who seems like a pretty ballsy guy. We'll be back very shortly with a little preview of the case and see what we can find out about what's going on in the courtroom, and then some of the risks in this trial, some of the things that I'm very, very worried about, because it really is like having it in your backyard. We'll be back very shortly.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep green, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans. No Robusto, all Arabica. They're gonna go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're gonna want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
I was watching that commercial too, and I need a cup of coffee. It's great. I'm telling you. I know. Of course, I've got a vested interest in telling you that. But you think I would be selling it to you if it wasn't superior? First of all, it's healthy for you. Dr. Maria had a lot to do with this to make sure, and Darren, the guy who really oversees the whole thing, committed to healthy coffee. Healthy means the best beans, Arabica, not Robusto. So no danger of stomach upset or whatever. But number two, and just as important, and maybe more, no chemicals used in this. A lot of the less well-prepared coffees and a lot of the little cups that you get. I mean, I take them now and I throw them in the garbage. Boom, you give me them and I practice basketball with them. I'm getting, maybe the Knicks could have used me. I don't know. They needed somebody. But this is Arabica, the best, and the best Arabica beans. I don't know if that commercial is the one with the light beans, the white. They're not white. They're sort of tan, light tan. Those are some of the very, very best in terms of the taste that comes from it. Completely natural processing. Most important then in the decaf, because decaf, they use a lot of it's like, like the sugar substitutes. I mean, they use a lot of crap. We do it all with water. And it's the only decaf I drink. People sometimes will slip you a decaf. And in the last 5 years, I've become really a coffee minor expert. I mean, I'll go in the bathroom. I won't embarrass them, but I'll go in the bathroom and spit it out. Can you see my? Maybe we'll do it after the last break. I want to make sure they get to see my cartoon of the day. Can I see it? I'm big on cartoons and little things like this, and I'll make it bigger. Yeah. Can you make it any bigger? You can't. Well, I'll read it to you. It says, what does it say about Republicans that their presidential candidate is a convicted felon? And the reporter says, what does it say about Democrats that their presidential candidate is trailing in polls to a convicted felon? It says that Biden is demented. Convicted. How about framed felon? That would be the right. Framed felon. Biden framed felon. The question is this going to be a fair and square trial? Is Weiss in it for real after having done the fix a year ago, right? That was prevented by a judge who said, I'm not taking the plea. And it was upset by Hunter and his lawyer because they didn't trust the back end of the agreement, which said he wasn't going to get immunity for everything else. So they're really afraid. Well, somehow they're going to get him into this Chinese conspiracy and the whole. I mean, where the big money is. I mean, where's the accountability for 31 million from China? Where's the accountability for 8 to 12 million from the biggest crook in Ukraine? Where's the accountability for the 3.5 million from the Russian oligarch? Where's the accountability for the 1.5 billion investment in the Whitey Bulger Bank of China Biden partnership? None. He's getting away with all that. Anything that touches on his father, and then they keep up the fiction. There's no proof that anything went to his dad. I'm going to stick the proof in your face a little later, so let's not spend too much more time on it. But it is good to see the whole Biden crime family, at least part of it, has a chance to meet together. These crime families very often don't have enough time to get together and discuss things. So who knows what's going to come out of it. We've just about sold out everything to China that we can. We gave up the air base. We're not doing anything about COVID. We're not doing anything about fentanyl. What else does China want? Oh, we're not building up our military. We're down based on inflation by about 2%. China's got the biggest military buildup in history.
Currency manipulation,
trade
theft,
tariffs,
terrible business practices.
Oh, how about 4 questions to the illegals who come in?
Yeah, I mean,
this is the most extraordinary of all. You remember Trump had built up this very controversial but absolutely necessary program as you now look at things, where he said, oh, he's being prejudiced against the Islamics and blah, 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 blah. He can make it hard for them to come in. Hey, it's not my fault that most of the terrorist countries are Islamic, okay? I didn't make that decision. They did. They decided to read the second half of the Quran and follow it. And they kill us, left and right. So you should have stricter criteria for somebody coming in from a place with a lot of terrorism than a place without a lot of terrorism. It just makes common sense if you want to protect people. But of course, no, he was a xenophobe and a racist, and except it worked out real well. Nothing happened. And he got immigration down to 400,000. Last year it was 3.2 million under Bobo head. And so I don't know how many questions I don't know how much they took it down when Biden came in. He signed 50 orders reversing all of Trump's structure that had our border headed toward the safest it had been in a long time. And it had fentanyl down. He reversed all of it. He virtually opened the doors like this and let everybody in. He doesn't know who the hell's here. The vetting is nothing. But the Chinese were asked some questions. Last year they complained it was taking too long to get in illegally. So they were asked 4 questions. I can't get the 4 questions, but they're 4. How can you let people in from our biggest adversary and ask them only 4 questions if you're not a traitor? How could you give up an airbase 400 miles from China if you're not a traitor? Not even get anything for. Well, I don't know who else they're sold out to, but they certainly sold out to China. What's the fallout from the Bragg trial? The polls are sort of a little inconsistent. I'd say they all say on both sides, the one that shows a little deterioration and some that show a fairly decent gain for Trump, that long term, I doubt that this Bragg verdict is going to have much impact, and the chances are the impact is going to be on the positive side more than the negative, largely because I think the polls will settle with a teeny plus for Trump, not the big plus that some of them get now, or the big minus that some of them get. Oh, the big minus is like 3 points. But the money stays, and the money is significant, and it's the first 2 months that he passed Biden in fundraising. And I don't know the exact count. I know in the first couple hours, it was up to 35 million. Then it went up to 80 million. Then it went over 100. I wouldn't be surprised if he's at 200 now. And 75 of it is, I think, small donors, or 35. I don't remember. But a lot of it is small donors, and over 30% are new donors. Now, there's the thing that will screw up your pollsters, because they're hard to find. These are the people that don't usually vote. Now, if you can get a big chunk of people who don't usually vote to come out and vote for you, you're going to win. And right now, 30% is a very big number. So I guess the reaction of the usual voter was baked in, right? The Democrats are going to say, yeah, he's a crook. The Republicans are going to say they're persecuting him. The independents probably had an inkling one way or the other. What happened is an awful lot of people that don't pay a lot of attention got really upset about this, because they were intelligent enough to see the danger to them. And the Wall Street Journal, which is anti-Trump largely, I think probably, represents that group. I see Gerard Baker's column today, and it might describe the fallout. Better than anything else. And well, we're going to take a short break, and then I'll tell you what Gerard had to say about the trial. Okay.
We're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50%, and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
Welcome back to the Rudy Giuliani show. And we were, I have this back and forth with the Wall Street Journal because I don't think they like Trump enough, but Baker goes back and forth on Trump. But this was a terribly intelligent column, and it's very interesting. He says something I hadn't remembered this. I originally knew this story when I was in law school. The image of the blindfolded woman, the statue of justice, right? And you think she's blindfolded because she's not going to pay attention to irrelevant or prejudicial things, I guess, right? But actually, as he says here, and I'm reading from his column, it began as a sardonic comment on the injustices of the operation of the law. In Albrecht Dürer's woodcut that accompanied the 15th century German satirical classic Ship of Fools, a helpless lady justice is being blindfolded by a fool so she can't see the horrors taking place in her name. In other words, so she can't see the injustices. Now, it's always been interpreted that this is it's because she's impartial. And I think that's the way it is interpreted, but that isn't the way it was intended. And he points out here, so in one sense, the shock and fury that has erupted following the verdict in the trial of the people of the state of New York versus Donald Trump is strange. It joins a long list of criminal cases through history in which the administration of law has been polluted by political and ideological considerations. But we are still right to be especially alarmed by this case and its implications, because the principal victim is not so much the wronged defendant, but the American system itself. I've been trying to find ways to tell you that. This is much bigger, much, much bigger than whether you're for Donald Trump or for Joe Biden. This is whether you're for justice or not. They fractured the justice system. And they keep doing it. And they fractured it with the Bannon case, and they fractured it with the Navarro case, and they fractured it with my case, and they fractured it with all the other people they put in the case. It was a highly selective prosecution by a partisan district attorney who's been content to let muggers and thieves walk free on the streets of his city, but who, with the help of a complacent judge, brought down the full force of the law on the perpetrator of, at most, an accounting deception. So now we've got this terrible problem in New York of muggers driving around on mopeds, stealing people's cell phones. And they're generally the illegals. These are the Biden invitees and the Adams tenants. People that came in because Adams just never checked on anybody. These are people that under any prior system you'd have kept out, but we don't keep anybody out. And these are people that maybe that wouldn't have come to New York if Adams hadn't made us uber sanctuary city, the biggest and best sanctuary city in the world. And then when he was even moaning and groaning about it, he added a credit card so they could get better food. So when you see a guy like this guy named for Castro who shot 2 cops who came in from Venezuela, he was part of a gang that rides around on mopeds and grabs cell phones. That's what the police were chasing him for when he turned around and shot at them, wounded two of them, and they wounded him. One had his vest on, and he was able to escape serious injury. The other got shot, I think, in the ankle, and will survive. But like the shot to the chest, if he hadn't had the vest on, gone, probably. But thank you. We have enough of our own problems, Joe. How many of these people have you gotten for us? Because we know there are 8 million in one category. We know there are 2 million in another category. And I'm going to tell you there's at least another 4 million in the you never saw them category. So we got somewhere around 12 million people here who were not coming in under the usual illegal immigration rules. They're coming from all different countries. That was never the case before. The cartels are in control. And they know what they're doing. Yesterday we were treated to another one of the really, really big scoundrels. A guy looks like a rat, Fauci. I mean, I thought the committee ripped him apart. I mean, it's unbelievable the lies that he told to us. And I started knowing they were lies when he started with hydroxychloroquine. And the Wall Street Journal is still all confused about hydroxychloroquine. I knew that hydroxychloroquine worked because I was very close to Dr. Zelensky, who is one of the 4 or 5 who used it, and used it on 3,000 or 4,000 patients with one casualty. And the casualty was a person who was like 86 years old and had other diseases. He gave it to me for several friends, one of whom had a partially collapsed lung. And he explained to me how it works and how it doesn't work. And of course, Dr. Maria understood it clearly. And I had taken it for malaria. So you knew it was a safe drug. And I even looked at the reports and the things that Fauci had written about it. At one point, he called hydroxychloroquine a miracle drug. And then all of a sudden, he's telling you almost that it's going to kill you. And because I was a prosecutor, I smelled right away that Fauci's in it for money. They couldn't give you a treatment, because if they had a treatment, they would not have gotten an exception to the rule that you have to have 2 or 3 years of tests before you can put out a vaccine. But if there was no treatment, then they would get the exception and they'd make billions. Didn't matter that in the context of not doing it, they may have killed 300,000 or 400,000 people, because the money was more important. And Fauci's been about the money from the beginning, which is why he doesn't tell you about his royalties. When they asked about royalties yesterday, he put his ratty little head under the table. I mean, so what? I mean, what did he do? 6 feet of separation. He had us doing 6 feet of separation, and now he tells us there was no science behind it. None. There's nothing that indicates that it works or it doesn't work. He just told us that's what we had to do. I mean, and they helped fix the election that way by saying Republicans couldn't see the ballots. Maybe that's why he did it, to fix the election. I don't know. But here's the science guy, and it wasn't based on science. And now he says it wasn't his decision, it was the CDC. Well, he sure pushed it. Masking is necessary even for children as young as 5 years old. Fauci said in a 60 Minutes interview, wearing a mask might make people feel a little bit better, and it might even block a droplet, but it's not providing the perfect protection. Then he went on to flip-flop to support masking, even calling for it to be imposed on school children as an extra step of precaution. In a July 2021 interview with CBS This Morning, I don't know how many children have been traumatized by that. I don't know how many children got sick as a result of it. Other doctors were pointing out who were vilified and persecuted that children, among other things, sniffle a lot. And when you have the mask on, you keep re-inhaling what you're sniffling out. And the sniffling out is part of what cures you, among other things. Plus, the children, are trying to get used to relating to each other, and they're all covered in masks. I thought from the very beginning when they locked everybody in, is anybody thinking about the suicides? Is anybody thinking about the depressed people? I know this is really bad, but what are the countervailing consequences to it? They didn't want countervailing consequences because they wanted us scared as hell so they could make billions. And they wanted to make sure that ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, nothing was going to be able to treat this. This is the only disease we never treated. We let people stay at home. We didn't do anything for them. We put them in a hospital and let them die. Except for the doctors who went around this horrible, deadly conspiracy, and you were able to get medicine from them. Then he said that vaccine opposition is ideological bull. It's been proven that when you make it difficult for people in their lives, they lose their ideological bull and they get vaccinated. Opposition to the vaccine was not bull. Opposition to the vaccine was founded on the fact that nobody tested this vaccine because of the emergency circumstances that they falsely created. And now it turns out that the vaccine, which Biden told us was going to end, it's going to end COVID, took them a month and a half to catch up on the fact that it doesn't do a damn thing for COVID. It doesn't do anything. And then they started saying, well, it makes it milder. And now there's no proof it does that either. And there's even studies, some go either way, that people who took the vaccine had more of a tendency to get it than people who didn't. I mean, is it Jill Biden who's gotten it 4 times? I mean, she's gotten 140 vaccines. She takes every vaccine that comes out. I mean, I got it once, never took the vaccine because I was convinced that the natural immunity was a lot safer than a vaccine that hadn't been tested properly. I have a right to make that decision. And then all that stuff that I was killing people because I took the vaccine, didn't take the vaccine, just the opposite. The people who taken a vaccine had the same tendency to get it, and it was just as mortal. And then again, there is proof in other countries they had more of a tendency to get it. So at best it's 0, and at worst it contributed to the deaths. But all of the hysteria about it contributed greatly to the deaths because it stopped doctors of goodwill from using other treatments that, particularly at the early stage, were very, very effective. We didn't have to have that many people die if we had used hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin at the earliest stage. And then when they tried to test both of them, completely phony, they tested it on people who had the advanced disease. Well, it doesn't work when you have the advanced disease because the advanced disease is not COVID any longer. The way you die from COVID is the damage that it does. And by that time, you're dealing with a collapsed lung or a pneumonia, and it's beyond COVID. And ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine are all about the spiked virus and being able to get to it. Well, the whole vaccine thing was one big lie. It turned out the vaccine didn't do any good. And now there's a big dispute about the side effects and whether the statistics on the side effects are being doctored, are being falsified, or they are real. And nobody believes it because they've lied so much to us. And then the big lie of all, of course, is to cover up for the Chinese. Now, I don't know why they didn't push him more on the fact that he's an agent of the Chinese government. I knew that when he was told, well, why would the Chinese do it? And it would kill their own people. There's no country on earth that has killed more of its own people than China. Not even close. 80 million. Best thing you could tell the Chinese Communist Party is that a couple million people are dead. Oh, thank God. Or thank Stalin or Mao. They're going to worry about Chinese dying? Are you kidding? Are you kidding? And the Chinese I work with, I always found to be very honorable. Yeah. And you work with the Wuhan laboratory, and they're run by the military. You didn't tell us that. And you're lying your backside off about getting the money because you were doing it through your friend back door. They've testified to it, and you're lying about it. Look, Fauci is a complete money man. This is just a guy that's interested in money. And he's a make-believe scientist. When he announced, I'm science, no, he's not. He's greed. Remember Gordon Gekko in Wall Street? He's the scientific version. He's greed. He made a fortune, and he's still hiding his royalties. And these Democrats all get a chance to hide everything. It's amazing. Well, there was a very, very revelatory report in the Times by Alina Chan, and it shows that the U.S. bears responsibility for putting millions of dollars into this gain-of-function high-risk research with very, very weak safety protocols. And it comes to the conclusion that this came from the laboratory, which he still resists. He said that's a possibility, but he still believes it came from the animals. Why don't they put him in prison where he belongs? We'll be back very shortly.
Is something that you can plug into your television, and now you can use your television as a social television type experience. So in the Portal universe, you can watch your favorite content creators' videos, live streams, music. We also have TV subscriptions as well.
Subscriptions.
You can also
regular channels, all the sports.
Right, you can actually cut your cable from your cable subscription and get QUX TV on our QX TV boxes, and you can pay half the price that you're currently paying for your cable television subscription, and you can get all the best premium TV channels and more. I mean, it's really, there's so much on there, Rudy. I mean, you've seen it.
No, I've seen it, and I use it, and it's beautiful. I mean, it's just exactly the same, except for half the price. Plus, nobody is finding out what I'm watching, and that's not being reported to anybody.
Right, so you have absolute privacy using this device, which you don't have on other devices out there currently on the market.
This is absolutely great. QUX.TV is how you can find out about it. QUX.TV.
Use promo code Rudy to receive $30 off.
I have that QUX. It's terrific, by the way. Well, Biden has now come up with another. I mean, this is like he did on Friday when he said that Israel had a proposal to end the war, and then Bibi said it was a non-starter. Well, this is a plan to secure the border. It's going to guarantee that we have about 1 million illegals coming in every year. And he doesn't bother to tell you most of it. He tells you about the 2,500, that it has to go over 2,500, and then he'll stop it. Well, 2,500 gets you to what? About 300,000, 400,000 a year, right? And you think he's going to be able, if he gets it to 2,500, what's going to stop him from bringing more over? And why is he legalizing illegal immigration? How about we do zero, huh? So you're going to let more people in by law than Trump was able to do by enforcing the law. He got it down to 400,000. You're also going to keep up your CB1 bullshit program, in which you told us was going to reduce the number of people who come in, but it allows people to make appointments for asylum, and you've been letting in about 3,000 to 4,000 a month that way, backdoor. And then they get paroles for 5 years. Some of the criminals came in that way. So there you go. There's another 300, 400,000. So we're looking at bare minimum 800 to 900 to 1 million illegals coming in under your closing the border. That's more than used to come in under most presidents other than you. Even under your friend Obama, we had very few years where we had that many coming in. So you're gonna solidify a level that Obama's head of Homeland Security, when we were at a couple 100,000, said is a disaster. And remember, we've already absorbed plus 12 million of your bums. Like the guy who just shot the cops in New York, that you guys put into a mass immunity program to prepare for what you're doing now. Why don't you tell people that? Why don't you tell people that over the last 3 or 4 weeks, you had a big mass immunity program? You dropped something like 300,000 immunity cases. Just dropped them. You didn't decide there was immunity. You just dropped them. And you let the people stay. Now, what the hell is that? Is that lawless or is that lawless?
And at the end of his speech today, Mayor.
So I mean, this is. Can we? Where is he trying to go home to the nursing home? Oh my God! Look at that. Are you kidding me?
Look at them. This is worse than I thought.
Have you slowed that down?
No, this is real speed.
You know, they're worried that if no wonder they don't want to show us the hurt tape. Yeah, don't hit him too hard; he might fall over.
Look at him leave.
Look at the guy going after him. He probably went the wrong. I think he went the wrong place. Look at that. I love when he looks back. Show the part where he looks back again.
Yeah. Oh no. But look at him. How weird is that? Let's play that again.
Look at that guy right away. They're not going to let him. They're not going to let him alone for a second.
He said, "Okay, now where do I go?" He's pumped up.
Look at this. He doesn't. He has no look. Look at this. I hope your grandfather's doing better than this. I don't even need sound for this. What's he?
I'm gonna get the sound. We'll get the sound for later, but this is worse.
They were yelling and screaming. It probably got him confused. Why don't you help him, jerk off?
That was a senator, and then they walk away.
Oh, he's probably
And then you're right. Somebody has
Probably looking for the late.
Really,
He wants to make sure he gets to his lobbyist right away. Is that all the crooked Democrats going out with him?
Well, that was funny.
Big crowd. How did you do it, my friends? I know most of you that watch this show, I imagine, voted for Trump or didn't vote for Biden. I assume. Do we have some that watch the show? And I don't know, just text in if you can. Do we have some that watch the show that voted for Biden and you have extreme buyer's remorse because you love the country so much? I mean, I voted for McGovern. As a kid then. And man, that drove me out of the, two things drove me out of the Democratic Party in 1972, 73. One was McGovern being so soft on the Soviet Union that I was afraid that the communists would take advantage of us. And I thought the Republicans had a much stronger approach, including Nixon, to the Soviet Union. And then, of course, I just idolized Reagan. And that brought me, so first I became an independent and then a Republican. And then the second thing that did it was I was investigating one of the large Great Society programs as a young prosecutor. And the amount of corruption shocked the hell out of me. I mean, I was very idealistic. I was married to my wife was a narcotics rehabilitation counselor and very liberal and very social program oriented. And I believed in them. And I looked at this Model Cities administration. No poor black person or Hispanic got a penny, except the crooks that were running it, who were not white, black, and Hispanic. In fact, the guy that was our chief witness and undercover agent was a Hispanic guy who had been a former minor league baseball player. And we did a 13-month or so undercover investigation and basically decimated the entire agency. But none of this money was going to the poor, which has been the story. I mean, you got to be stupid. You look, I always think about Elijah Cummings when the riots were in Baltimore. He's dead now. God rest his peace. Elijah, you may have done some screwy things, but you don't deserve to go to hell. Nobody does. Elijah stood up and said, with people all around his horribly broken down Baltimore neighborhood, in 20-something years, 25 years, 27 years, nobody's done anything for this place. And I'm saying to myself, Elijah, you've been representing them for 22. What happened to the money that came in? Is that why your wife has got so much money? You look at Maxine Waters, her husband is loaded, right? She was going nuts the other day on something. I don't know, what she wants Trump executed or something? I mean, she's the one who went out during that trial of that kid and almost created a riot. A real inciting, like Schumer did for Judge Kavanaugh, almost got him killed. So in preparation for the crackdown on the border, they had like a field day in letting illegals in the last 4 or 5 weeks. They had like a whole immunity thing. And then the dropping of cases. I mean, have all different categories, and we're still finding out about it. We're still finding out about the damage they did over that period of time. So they arrest about 3,000 a day on the Texas border. So they're going to take it down by one. They're going to take it down by one. Well, we'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll have a little more commentary and the mayor's final thoughts, sponsored by Tunnel 2 Towers.
Delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. Sean is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now.
Back to the Rudy Giuliani show and the mayor's final thoughts, which is sponsored by Tunnel to Towers, T2T.org. That's the organization that takes care of our uniform members who die in the line of duty, their families, or them when they become catastrophically injured. They build smart homes, they take care of the mortgage, and they're working really hard now on reducing and Frank's goal, Frank Silla, who runs it and founded it, Frank's goal is, like all great leaders, he wants to solve it. And all this stuff with the illegals has not really helped because a lot of money has gone in that direction. A lot of veterans have been thrown out on the street. You can't imagine how veterans groups are really upset about that. So my final thoughts today are to really bring to you things you're not going to hear elsewhere. Adams keeps talking about how crime has gone down in the city. It's very selective, and it doesn't involve the volume crimes, does it? The volume crimes, like 75% increase in felonious assault. Volume, because that's in the thousands. Murder went down, but that's in the hundreds. Now, murder going down is important for all kinds of reasons, but you're not going to feel it because, thank God, you generally don't feel murder, but you do feel felonious assaults, and they're up. And the subway crimes. Do you know, as of today, there is not a single movie theater in the Bronx? I mean, this is really like, who's going to put the lights out, right? That's a hell of a thing. It's got 1.5 million. There isn't a single movie screen in the Bronx. I don't want to tell you why. You figured it out, right? You should know that Fannie Ho's argument on her a disqualification has been put off until October, which means that trial doesn't happen until after the election, and the court had to be aware of that when they put off an argument on it that long, and probably shocked, like all of us, and embarrassed at the conduct of the crooked Democrat judges in New York and judiciary in New York. But most places aren't as crooked as New York. Although, think about this, every one of the cases has been brought by a compromised Democrat district attorney. Bragg is certainly compromised by all the money that he got from Soros and the fact that he's lets more criminals out than he prosecutes. Fannie Ho's a straight-out criminal. I mean, they're going after her on the conflict, but they're ignoring the fact that she took money from her campaign fund for personal finances to give it to her boyfriend. That's okay though in Georgia because Fulton County's crooked and nobody does anything about it. Nobody did anything about their cheating on the election. That's why 175,000 ballots are missing. Missing. They're gone. Maybe those are exactly the 175 or a portion thereof that show us that a machine was printing them to catch up. Things that I was accused of being an election denier and accused of a crime for fighting for my client. That's 2 of the prosecutors that are crooked, right? Smith? I'm surprised today when they grilled our scurrilous attorney general and they asked him about the contact with Bragg, in which he said, "Oh, he didn't know anything about his number 3 guy going off, to help prosecute Trump," which is I mean, that guy lies about everything. Yeah, but how do you pick Smith, Garland? You got all of a sudden Trump announces for president. You don't have you go and get a special counsel who has a history as a hitman. The court you wanted to be on, the Supreme Court, thank God you're not, because you were so damn crooked. The court you wanted to be on voted 9-0 to reverse a case in which he tried a politician. And then after the politician was deprived of running for office, it turned out that the case was reversed 9-0, mostly because of his misconduct. Isn't that exactly the pattern you want with Trump? And why he was yelling and screaming and hysterical over getting a trial quickly in a case with 1 million documents? Isn't that why you pick Smith? If you were fair-minded, wouldn't you have picked a guy that was a much more neutral prosecutor who didn't have a history of hiding exculpatory material to a fare-thee-well? I mean, I know the Justice Department better than you do, pal. I know you. I can't even look at you. I can't look at you, General. You're a disgrace. And boy, I got my differences with McConnell, but thank God he kept you off the court. They don't need a crook on the court. Oh, by the way, how's your son-in-law? Yesterday or the day before was the deadliest day in the war in Ukraine. Russia lost a staggering 1,270 troops. So Ukraine is now finally using some of the arms we got to them, but they're still limited in striking back in Russia. They can only do minor strikes in Russia, and they have to use short-range equipment. I don't know how Biden expects them to win this. And I have a lot of complex views on Ukraine, which I'll bother you with on another day, or we can do on a podcast. But I have a very, very emotional attachment to Kharkiv. And there's an article in both the Journal and the Post and several other places about how Russia is really frustrated that it hasn't been able to capture Kharkiv, and now they're trying to wear it down. Kharkiv is 30 miles south of the Russian border. It's a place that used to be very heavily favorable to Russia because a lot of Russian nationals live there. And in 2014, they attacked it so viciously they turned and beat them. They beat the Russians. And Russia has tried major assaults and has not been able to take Kharkiv. But now they're doing it again. They're hitting Kharkiv again. Kharkiv really isn't necessary to what they want to accomplish, which is the border, from the border to the Crimea, to have a straight bridge, have land that takes you straight there. This is really north of that. But there's another reason they want Kharkiv. There's a symbolic reason. It was the ancient capital of Soviet Ukraine. And number two, it's a rich city in minerals and other things. I don't know if it's richer than Kiev or not, but it's close. It's either the richest or the second richest city in the country. And of course, it's right on their border. Easy to annex them. And until Putin turned them off, they were extremely favorable. I'm sure that President Trump is spending a lot of time thinking about vice presidential candidates. And tonight on my 8 o'clock show, we'll have a little talk about that. I know all these people, and I sort of have a choice, but it isn't like I'm absolutely tied to it. And I'll tell you who the choice is. And you'll find very strangely, I wish we got to get somebody who disagrees with us. Ted and I have independently come to the same person, and we'll tell you who it is. But we have an open mind as to all the rest. And maybe we get somebody here who has who's for somebody else.
Maybe we'll get some advocates for these other.
No, otherwise, I think I can make a pretty good case.
Debate. Maybe we'll have a
We should
vice presidential debate, and we'll invite three or four people
We'll get 3 or
who
4
are passionate about certain names.
If we can get it down to like 3, I mean, he did at one point get it down to 4, but now it's expanded again. But if we could get it down to 3, it might be worthwhile getting. We could get somebody like Krisha and Andrew and
Krisha, Andrew, maybe Justine, maybe Caitlin.
They could play one of the.
Mike and Rob will have their own views, their own opinions.
We'll have somebody play the candidates. I mean,
that would be good.
Well,
that would be fun.
Yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to do that when we get a little closer, and we know.
Who would you want to play if you had to?
Well, me? I'd play anybody you wanted.
Yeah, you could.
But I don't want to give away who our choice is.
Yeah, okay.
Because I want to leave it for a little.
It's called
surprise.
Art of the Tease.
Yeah,
Tune in tonight, 8 p.m.
Give it a little more thought too. Who knows? We may change our mind between now and then. Presidential candidates have changed their mind at the last minute. They're going to go with this person. Boom. Get me so and so. Get me Lyndon Johnson. Man, Robert Kennedy went crazy. You read the books. He didn't want to go, and then his brother made him do it. And he hated Lyndon Johnson. I thought he was a crook. That's right. That's right. Well, remember, T2T.org, $11. Get it in. Help our heroes. Pray for the people of Israel. Pray for the people of Ukraine, since we mentioned them today, and pray, of course, for the United States. And I know you always do, dear God, but God bless America.
Teaches